The Vegas Golden Knights have signed newly acquired winger Max Pacioretty to a contract extension, plus we have news on several other players accepting professional tryout agreements to go to training camp with various teams. We'll discuss all that news coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, we have some news regarding Max Pacioretty and the Vegas Golden Knights and his contract extension. Obviously yesterday in our video where we discussed the trade, obviously I did speculate that more than likely Vegas and Pacioretty had already begun early discussions on a contract extension, and I would not be surprised if we had news on that in the very near future, even as early as yesterday or today. Well, that did indeed come out later yesterday after our video was posted. It was announced last night that Pacioretty and the Golden Knights have agreed to a 4-year contract extension worth an annual value of $7 million. Now, obviously, because of the difference in the taxation and whatnot, that actually would be equivalent to Pacioretty getting paid upwards of $9.8 million in Montreal. So that is a significant raise over Pacioretty's current contract, where he's earning $4.5 million. Now, a couple other tidbits in yesterday's trade as well, which weren't clear yet at the time the video was made. There was salary retention on both Vegas and Montreal side during that trade. Montreal retained 10% of Pacioretty's salary, which only has 1 year left on it, and Vegas also retained a percentage of Thomas Tatar's salary. With the salary retentions on both sides, Pacioretty's cap hit with Vegas will only be $4.05 million for this year, which is an absolute steal. Meanwhile, the cap hit for Thomas Tatar with Montreal for the remaining 3 years on his contract will be $4.8 million. So obviously that little bit of information wasn't quite clear at the time of filming yesterday's video. So obviously this is a great deal for Vegas and Pacioretty. Obviously, as we know, Max Pacioretty was looking for a significant raise. If you look at some of the other wingers and what they've been able to accomplish in their careers that have been signed recently, like a good example would be Evander Kane getting $7 million in San Jose. I think it's safe to say Max Pacioretty is certainly more established and certainly has scored more goals in his career than Kane. So it did appear as though he wasn't certainly going to take anything less than that. But the only reason I think he went for the $7 million as opposed to more is because of the tax advantages of the state of Nevada and playing in Vegas here. So like I said, that's equivalent to him making about $9.8 million if he were to remain in Montreal, which would have been more than double his current salary, which obviously the Habs were not willing to do. Unfortunately, it looks as though the Habs, as well as Pacioretty, are still kind of bickering a little bit on why the trade was made. During their media availability yesterday, General Manager Marc Bergevin and team president and owner Jeff Molson of the Montreal Canadiens both seemed to reiterate that Max Pacioretty had requested a trade last year and that they were trading Max Pacioretty because they wanted to accommodate the player's request. Obviously, as we know, Pacioretty and his agent have denied that numerous times through social media and publicly through interviews here. So whoever's telling the truth, I don't know. Obviously, neither one of them want to kind of admit what's going on behind the scenes here. So obviously, you know, I don't know if we'll ever really get the true story on that, on whether he requested a trade or not. But at the end of the day, the deal is done. He's now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. He was given a nice contract extension for 4 years, which I think is also a great sticking point here for Vegas. You know, they didn't get wrapped up in a 7 or 8 year term. So as I mentioned as well, we also have some news on many different players accepting professional tryout agreements and will be attending training camps here with various teams. So we've got teams like the Bruins, the Oilers, the Red Wings, the Islanders, and the Flames as well. So let's jump in here and get into those details. The Edmonton Oilers have invited winger Alex Chiasson to camp on a PTO. Obviously, Chiasson was a member of the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals this past year. Obviously, he went to camp last year with the Capitals on a PTO, ended up getting himself a contract. Didn't have too bad a season, but not real solid personally. Obviously, the team did really well, and he did contribute throughout the year and into the playoffs to help them win the Stanley Cup. I was a little bit surprised they didn't offer him something short-term to bring him back. Obviously, Alex Chiasson's bounced around a bit in his career here. Obviously, he got started with the Dallas Stars, had a really good start to his career, and was involved going to Ottawa in the Jason Spezza trade. His time in Ottawa didn't really work out the greatest. He spent parts of 2 seasons there. After leaving Ottawa, Chiasson was then sent to the Calgary Flames. Didn't really work out there for too long, and then obviously over to Washington. And now here he goes again, trying to find another job with the Edmonton Oilers. So you never know, maybe they'll find him a spot here in the bottom 6 of their lineup. Obviously, he gained a lot of valuable experience last year being on a Stanley Cup champion team. So we'll see if things work out between the Oilers and Alex Chiasson. The Boston Bruins have invited a couple of veteran wingers to attend their training camp on PTOs as well. And that would be veteran forward Lee Stempniak as well as Daniel Winnick. As we know, Lee Stempniak has bounced around and is well-traveled here, played with many teams. He did have a short stint with the Bruins before a few years back. Obviously, Daniel Winnick's bounced around with a few teams as well. So we'll see if either of those veteran forwards stick with the Bruins after training camp or not. The New York Islanders have invited defenseman Lucas Sbisa to their training camp as well on a PTO. I did see rumblings here in the last few days or week or so that Sbisa had been skating informally with some of the Islanders players at their practice facility as well. So this doesn't come as a huge surprise. So Sbisa will go to camp with the Islanders. Now there is some opportunities there as well. As I mentioned the other day, the Islanders have also invited veteran defenseman Dennis Seidenberg, who had previously played with them, on a PTO to camp as well. So obviously between Seidenberg and Sbisa, we'll see if either of those guys are a fit during training camp and offer them a contract or not. The Detroit Red Wings have invited veteran forward Jussi Jokinen to camp on a PTO as well. Obviously, Jokinen has bounced around significantly here in the past couple of years, playing with many different teams, being put through the waiver wire many times and being claimed, being traded. He certainly has had a fair share of bouncing around a lot in the past couple seasons, but we'll see if he can find himself a contract with the Detroit Red Wings. Now lastly here, the Calgary Flames have invited forward Victor Svedberg to camp as well. Svedberg was formerly with the Chicago Blackhawks organization. In the past, he's only played, I think it was about 27 games in the NHL with Chicago, but that was, I believe, 3 to 4 seasons ago. He spent the past 2.5 years mostly playing in the American Hockey League for Rockford. So we'll see if he can find himself a stint there with the Flames. If he does get a contract, it more than likely will be a two-way deal and perhaps could play for their American Hockey League affiliate. But I think with all the guys they have under contract and their potential prospects, I think more than likely Svedberg would at best get an American Hockey League contract. So that's all your news and notes here for today on the signings as well as the PTOs. I'd love to hear your comments down below, especially on the Pacioretty contract. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. If you're new to the channel here, hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.